Here to talk about the Vulcan, Sean Maffett. Sean, welcome.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. She's waiting on the runway. The spirit of Great Britain, held in trust to the nation she is, the Avro Vulcan B2. And she's just waiting her clearance, and we shall see her roll down the runway. She won't be going absolutely straight into her display, I don't think. And there you are. You can tell your grandchildren you heard the famous Vulcan howl. I'm not even sure that I know how that happens, but it's one of those things. It's to do with the four fantastic Rolls-Royce Bristol Olympus 202 engines, about 16,500 pounds of static thrust from each of them, 65,000 odd in total. But it's also to do with the way the air intakes are designed, and it doesn't always happen. It's sometimes the weather conditions make it not happen occasionally. So we're lucky today to have heard the eldritch howl of the Vulcan. So this is an aeroplane that dates back to 1952. The first Vulcan flew the same year that the Queen came to the throne. So last year we were also celebrating a Diamond Jubilee, which was very good. This particular aeroplane was the last Vulcan in RAF service. They had if you're old enough to remember the Cold War, when we all really thought that any day we could possibly be annihilated in a nuclear Armageddon, Vulcan was one of the three V-bombers, along with Valiant and Victor, that protected us. Frederick Forsyth, the great author, said, "It's a fool of a nation that doesn't honour its veterans and revere its saviours." Through its long career, the Avro Vulcan was both of those things. At the height of the Cold War, through the most dangerous years, 1956 to 1969, silent and invisible, Vulcan patrolled the perimeters of hostile airspace. When tensions were at their highest, Vulcan held the line, saying by its presence to any aggressor, "Don't even try it." And they didn't. So that was the early part of Vulcan's career. She then went on to, she handed over the role of the quick reaction alert to the nuclear war, what we called then MAD, the acronym for Mutually Assured Destruction, which, let's not forget, actually worked. And she became a tactical, low-level bomber. And of course, right at the end of her career, she hadn't been to war anywhere. A bit like me, when I was 20 years in the Air Force, I have a chest that was a medal-free zone. And she went to war down in the Falkland Islands and dropped bombs on the Port Stanley runway, captained on that occasion by Martin Withers, who's sitting in the right-hand seat for us today. He's the chief pilot of the Vulcan to the Sky Trust, the people who own and run this aeroplane. It's a charity, incidentally. The RAF doesn't contribute any money, neither does the government. It's only kept going by people like you and me, and you have been immensely generous. It's cost £20 million so far, and she costs £2 million a year. But enough of that, because Kev Rumins, the man in the right-hand seat, is pulling up in front of us from the far side of the airfield. Just a short burst on the Olympus engines there as he pulls up for that steep wing over. So, as I was saying, this was the first B2 version of the Vulcan into RAF service in 1960. When the RAF decided to do away with the Vulcan in 1992, they still had this aeroplane and not many others, because she was so popular as a display aeroplane. They kept her on until 1993, and then that was the last Vulcan gone grounded, and everybody thought we're never going to see another Vulcan fly. Everybody, that is, except the Walton family who bought her. They bought this airframe and lots of spares of all kinds. And also Dr. Robert Fleming, who developed what eventually became the Vulcan to the Sky Trust. They said, we're going to fly her again. Everybody else said, can't be done. Well, it took until 2007 to get it done, and it took at that stage about £10 million. But they did it, and here she is, still flying today for much longer than anybody ever thought, even when she did her first flight in 2007 and her first display season in 2008. Look for the bomb doors opening as she comes by. Bomb doors are now open. And that is the huge bomb bay that carried 21 1,000-pound bombs all the way from Ascension Island down to the Falkland Islands. Dropped them on the Port Stanley runway, 2 of them hit, and that was about half the course. It was the longest bombing raid in history at the time, about the same distance as from here to Santiago in Chile, and it required 18 air-to-air refuelings to get it there and back. Very nearly didn't make it, but they did eventually get back. Also in that bomb bay, which you'll see closing as she comes round the second time, could be your name. There are sponsors' names inside that bomb bay, and if you go down to the Vulcan village after she lands, that's way off to our right, more about that in a moment, you could actually have your name in that bomb bay. If you've got very good binoculars, you might be able to see the odd name now. Third man on the crew, Phil Davis, the air electronics operator, has just pressed the little switch to close the bomb bay doors there, and he has a little periscope that he can look down to make sure that all is well underneath the belly of the great beast. Of course, throughout all of the years of this project, the elephant in the room has been money. In order to get her airborne, there was an unprecedented heritage lottery grant of 2.7 million. First time they were asked, they said, we don't do things that move, but the second time round they agreed to do it. But she gets enormous support from the civil aviation authorities and other companies, AD Holdings, BAE Systems, Beagle Technology, Cranfield Aerospace, Goodrich, Kearsley Airways, Meggitt, Messier Doughty, Rolls-Royce, Serco, and here today I know, EADS, and also Marshall Aerospace. They're the engineering authority. They had to satisfy the CAA, Civil Aviation Authority. They had the necessary capabilities and experience to be the authority for this globally unique restoration. Marshall Aerospace has been there for Vulcan doing this essential work since 1999. Now, a lot of the fundraising for this is done by the Vulcan to the Sky Club, more than 8,000 members and rising, making it one of the biggest aviation heritage support clubs in the world. And this aeroplane, XH558, lives at what used to be Royal Air Force Finningley. She was actually based there between 1960 and 68. Now has the snappy title of Robin Hood Airport, Doncaster, Sheffield, but she lives in a sumptuous hangar there. She's very pleased to receive guests there when she's at home, so do pop in and see her. You have to book via the website. Well, you've got 2 hulls for the price of 1 today. Another one there. Kev cutting the power right off. But so do make an appointment to go and see her when she's in the hangar. The other part of her job at the moment is to infuse kids and youngsters generally to join the world of aviation and engineering and technology and design. And she does a wonderful job of that. She really infuses kids. I heard a young man at 10 or 11 when he saw it for the first time say, wow, is that another stealth bomber? And yet this is an aeroplane that's 60 years old in the concept. Quite extraordinary. One person I didn't mention that is not on board today, but vitally important, Taff Stone, the crew chief and chief engineer. He always says about her that 558 is my baby. She's definitely female. He says she's very high maintenance. There, Kevin Martin have put the wheels down. I think this will not be her final approach. I think she'll come by with a low overshoot. There are 18 wheels dangling, and if you're on the left-hand end of the display line, I think you'll probably see her with the air brakes out. They're quite strange on this aeroplane. They stick up top and bottom of the wing. We'll definitely see that later, but you might see it on this pass as well, as she almost disappears into the murk. As she comes by this time, you'll see the colour scheme. She has the Lincoln coat of arms on the fin, on the tail fin, because of course Lincolnshire is the RAF's bomber rally. It has the Panther's head of No. 1 Group Bomber Command on the nose, representing all the Vulcan squadrons in the 70s. 9, 12, 27, 35, 44, 50, 83, 101, and of course 617, who we're celebrating particularly this year. She also has the spirit of Great Britain painted on her nose, because that encapsulates all that she stands for, the great British bulldog, never say die spirit. They've cleaned her up for a slow fly past, cleaned her up, they've got the undercarriage up, and just gently accelerating away. We did think at one stage that this was going to be her last year of operation. Well, that could still be the case, because she does need a very large modification to the leading edge of her wing to keep the fatigue life under control of this old aircraft. She's flown much longer than any Vulcan was expected to. But when we said this was going to be the last year, there was an outcry, and people said, no, you can't do that. So we've developed this thing called Operation 2015. Cranfield University has developed some amazing reverse-engineered technology to find out how to make this modification actually work, because it never actually, although it was planned, it never actually happened to any other Vulcan before. So they had to do some very clever engineering technology. So by the end of this year, we're asking people to pledge money. No money will be taken until the decision is taken. At the end of this year, a big decision will be taken as to whether Operation 2015 can be afforded, and whether she will run on to the end of 2015. We all certainly hope so. So when she's landed, and this is her landing run, she'll be taxiing back down to the right-hand end of the runway, and if you feel like going down to the Vulcan village down there, you'll be able to find out all about these things, such as Operation 2015, such as joining the Vulcan to the Sky Club, buying all sorts of interesting things, flying the Vulcan simulator. Get the details of the website, vulcantothesky.org, on Twitter at XH558, all of those things to be found at the Vulcan village. And you can also book a tour to walk around underneath the Vulcan's wings as she sits parked for the rest of the day. I know they'd really love to see you at the Vulcan village. It's very important to us. Now, on a shorter runway, they would have to use a braking parachute. Absolutely enormous thing. Don't have to on this runway, and I'd say, because I like seeing it, but it costs a couple of grand every time they use it. So they don't usually have to. But I noticed that they're really keeping the nose piece well up. So the large delta wings of the oncoming aircraft. About slowing the aircraft around very quickly. You can see those big air brakes sticking out top of the bottom on the wing there. She's got 16 of her 18 wheels on the ground, rolling on the runway, and we'll see how long he can manage to keep that nose high. Nose wheel just coming. No, still keeping it off. He's still keeping it off. And there, 18 wheels down. Vulcan has landed. Please do give her a visit when she's parked back at the right-hand end alongside the Vulcan village. This morning she was parked alongside the Lancaster, another aeroplane designed by the brilliant Roy Chadwick. I mean, how can one man design two such different aeroplanes? Just very quickly, may I? Thank you, Ben. If you've got your mobile out and you want to contribute, please text VULC 133, VULC 133 to the number 70070. So you write VULC 133 to 70070. That will cost you £3. Obviously you have to have the permission of the person who pays the bills, and all of that £3 will go to the Vulcan to the Sky Trust. They will say thank you. Do you want to gift aid that?
Years ago in 2006, the very same aircraft that displayed on that occasion has been restored to fly at Cotswold Airport, Kemble, as it's perhaps still better known.